The bar on Zyra 9 was not a place for the faint of heart. Neon lights buzzed and flickered, casting long, colorful shadows across the metal floor. The air smelled of spice, oil, and something faintly metallic, part of the charm of a frontier planet where traders and adventurers mingled freely. Merchants shouted over the clamor, gamblers counted chips, and a few strangers in glowing armor kept a careful watch over the more unusual patrons. Kieran adjusted the strap of his pack as he moved between tables. His eyes scanned the crowd with practiced attention, noting the glint of alien tech, the way a few mercenaries kept hands close to their weapons, and the occasional shimmer of holo ads floating above the bar. He smiled to himself. Frontier bars had a rhythm all their own. Chaotic, dangerous, and oddly comforting. He didn't notice the woman until it was almost too late. Leora was impossible to miss. Even from across the room, her presence commanded attention. Muscles rippled beneath her armor, and her posture was taut, ready. She had the look of someone who had faced death countless times and survived. The stories about her were legendary, an undefeated gladiator from the core worlds, known for speed, strength, and the kind of cunning that made her fights unforgettable. She moved through the crowd like a predator. And yet, there was an air of grace, almost elegance, in her steps. Kieran, distracted by a crate of rare alien artifacts he had just retrieved from the cargo hold, didn't notice her approach. His elbow brushed against hers. "Hey, watch it!" Leora's voice was calm, but sharp, like steel against stone. Kieran stumbled back, surprised. "Ah, sorry, didn't see you there." Her eyes narrowed, measuring him in a single glance. Before he could react, her fist swung toward him, not in anger, exactly, but in warning. Time slowed. Everyone in the bar seemed to notice the motion. A few drinks froze midair. Patrons instinctively leaned back, curious to see if a fight was about to erupt. But Kieran didn't get hit. A second pair of arms, long and strong, reached out and caught Leora's fist in midair. She gripped it firmly, the muscles in her forearms flexing effortlessly. "My turn," said Solara, Kieran's wife, with a smirk that could freeze fire. Kieran blinked. Solara, his wife, 4 arms, each as strong as a fully grown gladiator's. She had retired from bounty hunting years ago, trading the thrill of combat for quiet life with Kieran. But moments like this reminded everyone that her skills had not diminished one bit. Leora's eyes widened not with fear, but with surprise. The fighter had expected someone ordinary, not a woman who could catch her punch without even breaking a sweat. Respect flickered in her gaze, mingled with amusement. Solara's smirk widened. "Careful," she said, "or I'll show you just how dangerous this family can be." Kieran cleared his throat nervously. Maybe we should talk?" Solara didn't release Leora's fist. "We can talk," she said, "or we can spar a little. Your choice." The bar had gone completely silent. A few patrons whispered excitedly. To see a legendary gladiator facing off against a 4-armed ex-bounty hunter was rare, almost unheard of. Bets started forming quietly, and every eye in the room followed the subtle movements of the 2 women. Leora, never one to back down from a challenge, raised an eyebrow and nodded slowly. "All right, let's see what you've got." Solara gave a small nod and released her fist. Instantly, she assumed a stance that looked almost casual. But Kieran knew better. Every muscle was coiled, ready to move in perfect coordination. The first few moments were a dance of speed and precision. Leora tested Solara's reflexes, her movements sharp and unpredictable. Solara responded calmly, blocking and redirecting, never overextending herself. Kieran watched in awe. Each arm moved independently, yet with flawless unity. It was more than skill. It was strategy. The bar erupted in whispers again. "Did you see that?" one patron murmured. "She's like 4 fighters in one." Did USP? Solara smiled faintly. Careful, she whispered to Leora during a pause. I fight smart. I don't just swing. Leora's grin returned, sharp and confident. Good. I like a challenge. For a moment, the two women circled each other, testing balance and distance. Kieran took a step back, just to be safe, and clutched the crate of artifacts. He could feel the tension in the air not just from the sparring, but from the sheer presence of these two warriors. It was electrifying. Then it happened. Leora made a feint to the left, and Solara countered instantly, using 2 arms to block and 2 to redirect Leora's momentum. The bar erupted into cheers as glasses clinked and coins rattled. Kieran couldn't help but laugh nervously. I should probably just leave the bar now, he muttered to himself. But the fight was mesmerizing. He had never seen skill like this two women, so different in style, yet equally dangerous, moving with precision that made ordinary humans look slow. After a few more exchanges, Leora stepped back, lowering her fists. All right, she said, her voice carrying both respect and amusement. You're good. Very good. Solara gave a small nod and relaxed her stance, though she didn't take her eyes off Leora. You too, she said. Not many can keep me on my toes. Kieran let out a long breath. The bar slowly returned to normal. Drinks clinked, conversations restarted, and the neon lights flickered as if nothing had happened. But Kieran knew better. Something extraordinary had just occurred. Leora approached Kieran, a faint grin still playing on her lips. You're lucky, she said. Most people don't survive bumping into me without leaving in a hospital bed. Kieran smiled awkwardly, scratching the back of his neck. I guess I am. My wife handles the rest. Solara stepped beside him, folding her arms. And we handle it well, she said, her tone playful but serious. You should be careful where you bump people. Leora laughed, a low, melodic sound that carried through the bar. I like her, she said, nodding toward Solara. Strong, smart, and confident. That's rare, Solara smirked. I like you too. But don't get any ideas, this is still a sparring match, not a friendship test. Kieran laughed softly, feeling both proud and nervous. He had always known his wife was exceptional, but seeing her in action like this, facing a gladiator of legend, was breathtaking. He felt lucky, yes, but also a little out of his depth. As the night progressed, Kieran noticed something interesting. Leora didn't leave after the sparring. Instead, she stayed, talking quietly with Solara while keeping an eye on him. The two women exchanged stories of battles and travels, their conversation filled with laughter, respect, and subtle challenges. Kieran realized he was witnessing not just a meeting of fighters, but a bond forming between equals. A few hours later, when the bar finally began to empty, Leora stood and stretched, cracking her fingers and flexing her shoulders. I have to go, she said, her voice carrying the weight of experience and authority. Solara nodded. Next time, I'll win, she said with a grin. Kieran laughed, shaking his head. I think that's the first time I've ever been outmatched by two people at once. Solara wrapped an arm around his shoulder, her forearms surprisingly gentle. You're not outmatched, she said softly. You just get to watch us shine. That's your job. As Leora walked away, disappearing into the neon-lit streets of Zyra 9, Kieran felt a thrill of anticipation. Something had shifted tonight. This encounter was not random. It was the beginning of a story, one filled with danger, excitement, and perhaps new alliances. He looked at Solara, who was already cleaning up the small mess left from the sparring demonstration. Well, he said, I guess life is never going to be boring with you around. Solara smirked, lifting a crate with one hand while balancing another with ease. Never boring, she confirmed. And as Kieran looked out the window at the star-filled sky of Zyra 9, He couldn't help but feel that this night was just the first page of an adventure far larger than anything he had imagined. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and dangers. And together, they were ready to face it all. The morning sun rose over Zyra 9, painting the skyline in shades of orange and violet. The neon glow from the previous night had faded, leaving only the hum of distant engines and the occasional clatter of cargo crates. Kieran, Solara, and their loyal hover drone, Tico, were walking through the busy marketplace, their footsteps mixing with the chatter of traders and merchants. Kieran still couldn't stop thinking about Leora. That encounter at the bar wasn't just a chance meeting, it was a collision of legends. The memory of Solara catching Leora's fist, the spark of respect in the gladiator's eyes, and the way the bar had gone silent, all of it played in his mind like a vivid hologram. He had expected excitement on Zyra 9. But that was beyond anything he had imagined. Solara moved beside him, forearms lightly resting on the straps of her pack. She was calm, collected, but there was a faint spark of amusement in her eyes. "You're thinking about last night again," she said, a teasing note in her voice. Kieran laughed softly. "I can't help it. That fight, or sparring, whatever it was incredible." "You were incredible," Solara smirked. "I know. But remember, it wasn't about showing off. It's about timing, strategy, and keeping control. Strength isn't just muscles, Kieran. It's brains, too." Kieran nodded. "Brains and 4 arms," he joked. Solara rolled her eyes. But the smile on her face was unmistakable. "4 arms help," she admitted. "But experience matters more. And I've got plenty." Their conversation was interrupted by a distant commotion near the marketplace edge. A group of traders screamed as a pair of small skimmers collided, spilling crates and supplies across the street. People scattered, trying to avoid the chaos. Kieran's instinct kicked in immediately. He ran toward the accident, helping to lift crates and calm panicked merchants. Solara followed, moving with grace and precision, her 4 arms capable of carrying more than most 2-armed humans could manage. As they helped, a sudden flash of movement caught their attention. A woman in sleek combat armor, moving faster than humanly possible, darted between crates. It was Leora. She had noticed the disturbance and decided to help. Her gladiator instincts didn't just make her a fighter, they made her alert to danger wherever it appeared. Kieran watched in awe as Leora lifted fallen cargo and redirected a skimmer, her movements precise and controlled. Solara smiled knowingly. "I see we've got company," she said softly, stepping closer to Kieran. Leora's eyes met Solara's, and the faintest smirk appeared on her lips. No words were needed. Respect had been established last night, and now they shared an unspoken understanding. They worked together seamlessly, Solara handling heavier crates, Leora coordinating movements, and Kieran doing his part wherever possible. By the time the chaos had been resolved, the 3 of them were standing amid neatly stacked cargo, the marketplace returning to its usual rhythm. Leora dusted her hands, her armor gleaming under the morning sun. "Not bad," she said. "You 2 work well together." Solara flexed her fingers, each set of arms moving independently. "It comes naturally when you trust each other," she replied. "And we trust each other completely." Kieran smiled, feeling pride swelling in his chest. Not just for himself, but for Solara, his wife, his partner, and an extraordinary human being. Leora studied them both for a moment, her eyes sharp but thoughtful. "Listen," Leora said finally. "There's a job I've been tracking. Dangerous, yes, but potentially profitable and rewarding in ways that money can't measure. I need people I can trust. People who can handle themselves in unexpected situations. You 2 are exactly that." Solara raised an eyebrow. "You think we'd join a mission with you just because you're a gladiator?" Leora laughed, a low, confident sound. "I don't expect you to join blindly. I expect you to evaluate the situation. But you'd be foolish to ignore it entirely. There's something on the frontier, hidden deep in uncharted space, an artifact older than any civilization we know. And dangerous parties are already hunting for it. Kieran's eyes widened. Dangerous parties? He asked cautiously. Like mercenaries or pirates? Both, Leora replied, her voice calm but firm. And worse. Whoever controls this artifact could change the balance of power in this sector. I need a team that can think, fight, and survive. Solara exchanged a glance with Kieran. She could feel the pull of adventure, the thrill that had once driven her to bounty hunting. But she also knew the importance of careful planning. We'll consider it, she said, but only if we set our terms and strategies. Leora nodded. Fair. I wouldn't want it any other way. They spent the rest of the morning discussing details, moving to a quieter corner of the marketplace where fewer eyes could see them. Kieran marveled at Leora's knowledge of star systems, navigation hazards, and potential enemies. Her intelligence matched her fighting skill, a combination that made her both dangerous and reliable. By mid-afternoon, they had agreed to meet the next day aboard Leora's ship to plan their expedition. Kieran felt excitement mixed with a trace of nervousness. This mission promised adventure, danger, and challenges unlike anything he had faced. But he also knew he wasn't alone. Solara was by his side, ready to face whatever came, and now Leora would join them. As they walked back toward their quarters, Kieran couldn't help but notice how the streets of Zyra 9 seemed different. The marketplace, once chaotic and routine, now felt like a stage for possibility. Every passerby, every hovering vehicle, every neon sign seemed to hint at adventure waiting just beyond the horizon. Solara, sensing his thoughts, leaned lightly on his shoulder. You're imagining the future, she said. I can't help it, Kieran admitted. Something tells me this mission will change everything. Solara's eyes softened. Then we face it together. That's what makes it exciting and safe. You, me, and whoever joins our side. We protect each other. And we win. Kieran nodded, feeling a surge of determination. He had always believed humans could rise to any challenge. But seeing Solara in action last night, today, and meeting Leora, he understood it on a deeper level. Courage, intelligence, and teamwork weren't just words, they were the foundation of survival in this universe. The next day, Kieran, Solara, and Leora met aboard Leora's ship, the Starfire Valiant. It was sleek, built for speed and defense, yet surprisingly spacious. The interior was a mix of functional technology and personal touches, a holographic navigation map, crates of supplies, and weapons neatly arranged along the walls. Leora guided them to the command center, where a large holographic map of the uncharted sectors floated above the table. Stars twinkled, planets rotated, and small markers indicated points of interest and danger. This, Leora began, pointing at a distant system, is where we start. The artifact was last detected here, in the ruins of a planet no scanner has fully mapped. Sensors show energy signatures that don't match anything in known databases. Solara leaned over the map, studying the coordinates. We'll need a plan for entry, reconnaissance, and defense. There's no telling what traps or guardians might remain. Exactly, Leora said. And that's why I need both of you. Strength alone won't be enough. We need brains, coordination, and trust. Kieran felt a thrill of anticipation. Then we're ready, he said, his voice steady. Solara smiled, placing a hand on his shoulder. We're ready. Together. Leora nodded, her eyes gleaming with approval. Good. Then the adventure begins. And as the ship's engines roared to life, lifting them from the planet's surface and into the vast expanse of space, Kieran realized that life on Zyra 9 had been only a warm-up. The galaxy was bigger, stranger, and far more dangerous than he had imagined, and with Solara and Leora by his side, he felt ready to meet every challenge. The universe awaited them, full of danger, wonder, and stories that only those brave enough could live to tell. The Starfire Valiant cut through the inky blackness of space like a silver arrow. Stars streaked past the viewport as Kieran adjusted his seat, trying to calm the flutter of nerves in his stomach. This was no ordinary cargo run or trading mission. Ahead of them lay an uncharted system, a planet that sensors barely recognized, and rumors of an artifact whose power could shift the balance of the galaxy. Solara stood at the command console, 4 arms moving fluidly over the controls as she checked their systems. Engines, shields, life support. Everything was running smoothly. Her eyes, sharp and focused, scanned the holographic map floating above the console. Coordinates confirmed. Entry into the system is stable, but expect turbulence near the planet. Magnetic fields and debris are common. Kieran nodded, trying to match her calm, professional demeanor. How dangerous are we talking? Solara didn't turn. Dangerous enough to make mistakes deadly, but manageable if we work together. From her seat on the other side of the bridge, Leora stretched, flexing her arms. I like manageable, she said with a grin. Unmanageable is boring, and boring gets people killed. Kieran chuckled. Her confidence was contagious. After months of routine trades and quiet life, the thrill of adventure was already sparking in his chest. Planet ahead, Solara announced, her voice steady. The holographic display expanded, showing a broken, rocky world cloaked in swirling clouds of dust. Sensor readings flickered, fragments of the planet's surface were missing, and energy readings spiked unpredictably. Leora leaned forward. That's our target, she said. Ancient ruins, unstable terrain, and a signature that matches the artifact's last known trace. It won't be easy, but it's exactly what we're looking for. Asthma. Kieran swallowed. And dangerous parties? They're already here, Leora said grimly. Sensors picked up small skimmers lurking in orbit. Mercenaries. Probably scouting the same ruins. We need to move fast. Solara tapped a few controls, and a holomap highlighted the safest entry route through the debris. We'll land on the eastern plateau. Less unstable, but still gives us good cover. If they're already here, we need stealth first. Then speed. Kieran nodded, gripping his armrest. The adrenaline began to hum in his veins. For years, humans had been exploring the galaxy, trading, fighting, and surviving. But moments like this, where danger and intelligence combined, were rare. It was moments like these that reminded him why humanity could rise to any challenge. The descent was tense. The ship's thrusters glowed brightly, adjusting against magnetic winds that twisted unpredictably across the planet's surface. Rocks floated in the atmosphere, remnants of ancient destruction, threatening to puncture the hull. Solara's 4 hands worked in perfect. The ruins sprawled before them, jagged and shadowed under a pale, alien sun. Kieran stepped out of the Starfire Valiant, feeling the crunch of rock and dust beneath his boots. The air was thin, charged with static, and smelled faintly of ozone. Around them, the ruins of ancient towers and broken walls stretched as far as the eye could see, remnants of a civilization long gone. Solara moved first, her 4 arms making it effortless to carry supplies, weapons, and scanning devices all at once. Her eyes swept across the terrain, noting weak points, shadows, and likely danger zones. Keep alert, she said. This place isn't abandoned for nothing. Leora followed closely, her gladiator instincts on high alert. Every step was careful, measured, yet fast. Her eyes flicked constantly, scanning for movement. I've fought in many arenas, she said quietly. But nothing compares to ruins like these. Every corner hides a threat. Stay ready. Kieran adjusted his pack and weapon, trying to calm the flutter of nerves in his chest. He had survived tricky markets, bar fights, and mercenary scuffles. But this felt different. This was exploration, danger, and discovery all at once. The thrill and fear combined, making his senses sharper than ever. They moved deeper into the ruins, guided by the faint energy signature of the artifact. The air grew colder, the wind carrying faint echoes that sounded almost like whispers. Shadows stretched long across broken stone. The energy readings spiked suddenly, indicating that they were getting close. "Keep moving," Solara said, scanning the horizon. Her 4 arms adjusted sensors, scanned for traps, and even carried Kieran's gear with ease. "If there's an artifact here, it won't be unguarded." Leora grinned, twirling a small energy blade in her hand. "Good. I was hoping for some excitement." The trio reached a large chamber embedded in the side of a rocky cliff. The entrance was partially collapsed, but enough remained to allow passage. Energy readings surged inside, warm and pulsing with an intensity that made Kieran's hair stand on end. "Stay close," Solara whispered. "We don't know what's inside." They entered cautiously. The chamber was vast, illuminated by faint crystalline growths that pulsed with a soft blue light. Ancient symbols were etched into the walls, and the air hummed with energy. In the center of the chamber sat a pedestal, and atop it glowed a small orb, the artifact. Its light shifted and shimmered, like it was alive. Kieran's jaw dropped. "It's beautiful and powerful," he breathed. Leora stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the orb. "And dangerous," she said. "Anyone who touches it without understanding could be badly hurt. Or worse." Solara nodded. "We'll need a careful approach, no mistakes." They advanced slowly, scanning for traps, pressure plates, hidden lasers, and faint energy pulses threatened to spring from the floor or walls. Solara's 4 arms were invaluable, carefully testing the path, lifting debris, and marking safe spots. Leora's gladiator reflexes kept them ready for sudden movement or attack. Kieran handled the tech, scanning for hidden energy fields or weaknesses in the structure. As they reached the pedestal, a sudden vibration ran through the floor. Rocks shifted, a hidden chamber opened, and from the shadows, armed mercenaries appeared, weapons ready. They had tracked the artifact and were prepared to claim it for themselves. Leora didn't hesitate. With a swift movement, she deflected a laser blast with her blade and rolled forward. Taking cover behind a broken pillar, Solara moved like a storm, using all 4 arms to block attacks, disarm mercenaries, and provide cover for Kieran. Kieran activated a portable energy shield, deflecting incoming fire while coordinating their movements. The fight was intense, but brief. The mercenaries underestimated their opponents. Solara's strategy, Leora's precision, and Kieran's quick thinking allowed them to neutralize the threat without anyone being seriously injured. In the end, the mercenaries fled, and the chamber fell silent again. Breathing heavily, Solara wiped her brow. "That's why we work as a team. Strength alone isn't enough." Leora nodded, eyeing Kieran. "Brains, skill, and courage. You two have it all. I'm impressed." Kieran smiled, exhausted but exhilarated. "We make a good team." With the chamber safe, they approached the pedestal. The orb floated slightly above its base, pulsing with a rhythm that seemed almost alive. Kieran reached out slowly, careful not to touch it directly. Solara used a gloved hand to stabilize it, while Leora kept watch. As soon as the orb was secured in a containment field, the energy readings calmed. The artifact was theirs for now. It hummed faintly, as if acknowledging their skill and care. "This changes everything," Kieran said softly. "Whoever controls this could do great or terrible things," Solara finished for him. "That's why it needs to be protected, studied, and respected, not exploited." Leora looked between them. "You understand what this means. You could stay quiet, let others take it, but you chose to act with honor. That's why I respect you. Humanity, Solara, and even you, Kieran. You've shown courage, intelligence, and teamwork. That's why I want you with me." Kieran felt a swell of pride. It wasn't just the artifact they had survived, outsmarted danger, and protected each other. In that moment, he realized what made humans remarkable. It wasn't just strength or technology, it was ingenuity, empathy, and the will to rise to challenges others couldn't. Solara stepped forward, placing a hand on the containment field. "We protect it," she said firmly, "and we'll do it together." Leora smiled. "Then the adventure continues. This mission was only the beginning. There are other ruins, other artifacts, and far greater challenges waiting out there. And I'm glad you two are by my side." Kieran glanced at the viewports. Stars streaked past as the Starfire Valiant prepared to lift off. The galaxy awaited, full of danger, mystery, and opportunity. And for the first time in his life, Kieran felt the full weight of possibility. Humans could rise to challenges, overcome impossible odds, and forge bonds stronger than any weapon. As they prepared to depart the planet, Kieran looked at Solara. "You know," he said, "life will never be boring again." Solara smirked, adjusting her pack. "Never boring. And now, we have a Gladiator, a mysterious artifact, and the galaxy itself to explore. Let's see what comes next." Leora grinned. "The galaxy doesn't stand a chance against us." The ship lifted off smoothly, leaving the ruins behind. Kieran took one last look at the rocky planet, its secrets temporarily safe in their hands. The stars stretched ahead, vast and limitless, filled with adventure waiting to be seized. For Kieran, Solara, and Leora, this was more than a mission. It was a reminder of what humanity could achieve. Bravery, intelligence, and trust in one another were not just traits, they were superpowers, capable of shaping the universe itself. The Starfire Valiant soared into the unknown, carrying 3 allies ready to face any challenge. The galaxy was wide, mysterious, and dangerous, but together, they were unstoppable. And thus, a new legend began. One of courage, teamwork, and the undeniable strength of humans, standing tall in the vastness of space.